let's say we'll come right over here to our channel strip, and I'm going to hide some of the other parts of the mixer. You can see how, you know, it's pretty easy to do. So now, you said, okay, when you work with like a large format console, you know, if you have like a big Neve or a big SSL or API, you know, they're noted for having great sounding EQs, but they also have noise gates on every channel. They have different, you know, compressors, maybe a limiter on every single channel. So we try to emulate this in the software world by doing plugins, and we can have plugins, you know, with our inserts, and that's a pretty good paradigm until you start editing a lot of stuff. And you're like, okay, so I have this one channel that has 4 inserts on it and a send, and I want to really dial in that lead vocal. So you open up the channel, you open up the 4 or 5 plugins, you move the plugins around the window so that you can see all the different parameters. So you do all that, and a minute goes by, and you're like, okay, got that dialed in. Let me go to the next track. Close all those windows, open it up, move, you know, open up all the plugin interface windows. So it gets to be a little hard in, you know, managing all the windows and views. So we said, okay, why don't we just give a channel strip inside of the console, dedicated. So I can come here and, okay, I want to open up a noise gate on that particular channel. So I can come right there, open up a gate. I can come also, one of the preferences is we'll give you kind of an abbreviated set of controls, or you can come right here and I can show all the controls. So this way I could actually say, okay, I wanted to gate out the hi-hat frequencies for my kick drum mic. So you could actually pick frequencies for your noise gate as opposed to threshold and release. Then on this channel, I don't want to have just one compressor. I want to have 3 different types of compressors. So I wanted to have a vintage compressor on that channel, and on this channel I wanted to have a tube compressor. But let's say, you know, this tube compressor, I would really like that to come before the noise gate. So if I wanted to change the order, I could just drag and drop and change the signal flow that easily. Below that we have EQ position. So as we've kind of been going, you see we have our pre-section, the inserts, then going into our EQ, then the channel strip. But let's say I want the EQ to come after the compressor. I can switch the EQ position right there. So that way the signal flow position of the actual EQ falls right there. And I can say I want that EQ to come between the compressor and the noise gate. And you can just pick up and drag just like that. Or I wanted to, again, change the order here. Moving on, we can say, okay, I want to have that transient designer, that envelope shaper plugin sounded great on the drums. I wanted those on these channels. And I wanted to have tape saturation on that channel, but on the bass, I wanted to have a tube saturation. And then I wanted to have a brick wall limiter on on these channels as well. So let's say if I wanted to be really kind of obscene about this, let's say, okay, I have 68 channels. Wouldn't it be cool if I could have an independent side chain for my noise gate, for the compressor, and for the envelope shaper? So you can have 3 independent side chains. So notice I don't have to open up any plug-in interface windows. But let's say, okay, I have 68 tracks in my project. I want to come here, and I'll just put the quick link on. Now I want to add 68 noise gates. So I'm just going to come here, we'll click, and say, okay, let's add my 68 noise gates. Okay, did that take a long time? I want to add 68 vintage compressors. Alright, let's add 68 envelope shapers.
Okay. How's your CPU feel about that?
Just fine, I'll show you. Add tape saturation. And let's do brick wall limiter. Alright, so there's my CPU. We'll play.
Now, what's your CPU in there now?
Just an i7. This is like $1,000 notebook, so it's for about 30-40%.
Is it like a dual core or a Intel?
It's a 4-core i-core.
Yeah.